Hello and welcome to another manga spotlight. Today's series is Hamatora, the comic. So this is a mixed media series. What I mean by that is there's a manga, anime, light novel, video game, and you might be thinking, well, there's a lot of mangas out there that have all that. Yeah, the thing is with Hamatora is that the anime and the manga were being developed at the same time. So it's not one of those where it's a manga based off the anime, nor is it an anime based off a manga. Instead, they were basically made at the same time. The manga kind of serves as a prequel to the anime. And the best way to describe the series would be if the X-Men ran a detective agency. So yeah, there's this world with people who have powers, and our main character has powers, and he runs a detective agency, and he uses his powers to solve cases. So usually what I like to do here is I like to read the summary that MangaDex gives. However, the summary here is wrong, or at least I should say it's wrong for the manga, because here the summary is the summary for the anime, and the anime and the manga are not the same. Like I said, the manga kind of serves as a prequel to the anime. So instead, we are going to go to my anime list, and we are going to read the synopsis from there. So in this world, there are people known as minimum holders who are capable of specific small miracles. A government-funded elite academy trains these minimum holders in order for them to reach their maximum potential and serve national interests. Once a student of great potential named Nice dropped out, started a private investigator team with an assistant named Hajime, and seemed content solving cases for his clients, which often involve minimum holders. A top student of the academy, Murasaki, has been tasked with bringing Nice back. Murasaki bristles at the claim that Nice has a higher potential than he does, but he ends up involved in Nice's detective activities. So yeah, that pretty much gives like the basic gist of what this series is going to be about. But just to kind of summarize it a little bit more, there are minimum holders in this world. Minimum holders are people who have minimum abilities, aka small miracles, aka special powers. And there's this group called Facultas, which is run by the government, and they take in all the minimum holders that they can, kind of like Xavier does for the X-Men, and basically trains them. Only here, they train them to reach their full potential so that they can serve national interests. So basically, put Japan first. And so we follow the character of Nice. And Nice is a minimum holder. He is a holder for the ability Cannonball. I believe it's called something different in the anime, but in the manga it's called Cannonball. And basically what it does is it allows him to move within the speed of sound, but only within 5 meters. So anything within 5 meters of him, he can move at the speed of sound. And he was once a member of the Facultas. He has a lot of high potential, but he ended up leaving because he didn't like the way that Facultas was doing their business. He didn't like the fact that Facultas would kind of sacrifice the smaller people in the interests of the state. And so he wants to help everybody that he can. So he ended up leaving and creating his own detective agency. And that's kind of where we start now, where he is at Hamatora, the detective agency, and he is undergoing a new case. He's taking on this new case. Meanwhile, Murasaki, at this point in time, is not a member of the detective agency, but is instead still a member of Facultas. And Murasaki has the ability called All or Nothing. Again, it might be something different in the anime, but in the manga it's called All or Nothing. And what it does is it allows him to strain the muscles in his body, especially his hands, strong enough that he can like warp metal with his hands. And he was tasked with Facultas to capture Nice and bring him back. We start off with like a rivalry between the two. Well, a one-sided rivalry. Murasaki doesn't like Nice and thinks that he's a joke. And he is really, really jealous and envious of the fact that Facultas tells Murasaki straight to his face that he has a higher potential than you. And he just doesn't see it. Like when he first shows up, he sees that Nice is taking on a new client who believes that her apartment is being haunted by a ghost. She like shows an image of what looks like a shadowy figure falling onto her balcony, and she mentions that she took this picture immediately, and then she took a few more afterwards, but the ones afterwards, like the figure is gone. So she thinks it's a ghost. And Ice is staring at the picture, but he's also staring at her tits in the process. And he's like, wow, those are huge. And she's like, what? He's like, this is a huge case. Oh, I'm going to accept it. And yeah, Murasaki's like, this dude's just a kid. Like, he has no idea what the hell he's talking about. We're also introduced to Hajime at the same moment. Murasaki basically sees Hajime, who is this adorable little girl who is constantly stuffing her face with food. When we first see her, she has this giant plate of curry rice that she's just shoveling into her mouth. And when she notices that Murasaki is like staring at her food, not because he wants any, but because it's like, holy crap, that's a lot of food for this small child. He basically just nonchalantly says, I ain't giving you any. um, but yeah, Nice takes the case. He is on his way to this girl's apartment when Murasaki calls him out and basically tells the girl, like, hey, this guy is full of crap. Like, there's no such thing as ghosts. This guy is like full of it, because Nice even says this wasn't done by an ordinary human. And Murasaki is like, I wouldn't put any faith in this guy being able to help you. This guy is clearly deceiving you. You know, he's saying that ghost extermination is within his line of work. Like, he's a detective. He's not a ghostbuster. Besides, no such thing as ghosts. Like, if it were me, I would be able to conduct this in a more realistic manner. And he's basically hoping to call out Nice, that Nice would be like pissed off and stuff. But instead, Nice is just like, all right, fine. I'll let you handle it from here then. Case is yours. Have fun. And he walks away. And Murasaki is now stuck solving this case. And along the way, they meet this guy named Nobikawa. Nobikawa is basically the dude who lives above this girl's apartment building. And so Murasaki goes, and he is looking at her apartment. He's looking at her balcony where he sees like a broken plant, and he's like recalling the picture. He's like, you know what? I think the ghost is actually not a ghost, but the person that lives above you. So Murasaki runs up to go confront Nobikawa. But by the time he gets there, Nice is already there. Nice has already figured everything out. He already knows that Nobikawa is the one that was dangling down from his balcony to go directly to the girls below, and that he's the so-called ghost. And it turns out that Nice was also right, that this was not an ordinary human. Instead, Nobikawa is a minimum holder, and his ability is he can like stretch his body parts. So like what he did was he like stretched out his tongue to wrap around his head to hide his features, and then he stretched his arm so that he can swing down to the girls' balcony below. But Nice is able to use his cannonball ability and knock this guy out. And he basically turns to Murasaki. He's like, yeah, I figured this out as soon as I saw the pictures. It was pretty easy. When we saw the pictures, when it showed the figure dropping from the balcony, there were only 2 pairs of socks. But in the next photo, when the figure is gone, there's 4 pair of socks. Obviously, the second pair of socks belonged to Nobikawa. And it was just a picture of his feet as he was springing back up to the balcony above. So yeah, I knew it was him right from the get-go. And so case is solved. And once again, like Murasaki's like, this guy's still full of shit. He just got lucky. So instead, he's like, all right, I'm going to get this guy to come back with me. And his plan is, I'm going to offer Nice a case. I'm going to pay you $1 million in advance. And I will double that if you can solve the case. And if you solve the case, I'll also leave you alone. But if you can't solve the case, you have to come back to Facultas. And Nice is about to reject it when Hajime accepts the case. And her basically thing is like, we can eat a lot of food with that much money. So, yeah, he accepts the case. And the case is to secure a stray. And what a stray is a stray is a minimum holder who no longer is a part of Facultas. Which just kind of once again reinforces Nice's opinion of Facultas. He's like, so you call them strays. Truly a way of thinking fit for pet dogs. Like that's how he believes that people who work for Facultas are. They're just nothing but pet dogs who take orders and don't have like minds of their own. The stray here, his name is Hibiki. And Hibiki has pretty much like a banshee ability. He can scream, and his scream can destroy people's brains in a sense. Like his screaming will just kill anyone within a certain radius of him. And currently Hibiki is out of his apartment. So Murasaki takes Nice to Hibiki's apartment. It's like, try to gather as much clues as you can. So Nice goes in. He's looking at all the things around the apartment. He gets really attached to this like swimsuit magazine. But yeah, he basically looks at stuff. He's like, all right, I know exactly where this guy is at. And Murasaki thinks, again, this guy's full of crap. Like, this guy is able to just look at Hibiki's apartment and already narrow down where this guy is at. And even like some of the things that he points out as clues don't make any sense. Like, there's one moment where he's like pointing at menthol cigarettes. He's like, there you go, there's a clue. There's another moment where Hajime is like, oh, there's a bag full of candy. She opens it up. She's like, oh, there's only mint left. I don't like mint. And Nice is like, Hajime, that's another clue. Well done. And once again, Murasaki is like, you're full of crap. Like, there's no clues here. But Nice is able to figure out exactly where Hibiki is. He basically explains how he was able to do it. And that was basically the fact that the guy's fridge was pretty much empty, which means that he probably was going on a store run. But there's also bills that he has to pay. There's a bunch of papers for bills, but there's no check there, which means that he probably went to deliver it. So he's probably going somewhere to pay for his bills and then stop by to get food on the way. So there's only one location he could be at that goes past both of those areas. And sure enough, Nice is correct. He's able to find Hibiki. And Murasaki's like, well, I'll go catch him. And Hibiki's like, no, it's too early to do that. We're going to tell him for a little bit longer. And that's when Murasaki's like, if you don't go right now, the case request is terminated and you lose. So Nice is like, all right, but just know that you forced my hand. So he goes and he confronts Hibiki. And that's when Hibiki tells him that if I scream, people within 100-meter radius will die. And that's something that Murasaki didn't know. He didn't know that the range was going to be that big. And Hibiki also tells him, not only will you be killing all the innocent people here, there's also a police station nearby. And all the people there will be killed as well. Which means that there won't be any police officers around to help out everybody. So even more chaos is going to be created. Yeah, Nice is like, well, if you want to scream, go ahead. But I can crush your throat before you make any sounds. You're within my 5-meter radius. All I got to do is snap my fingers and you're done for. And that's when a car comes by and is about to plow into this kid. So Nice uses his ability to tackle the kid out of the way. It turns out that the guy driving the car is actually working with Hibiki. And so Hibiki jumps in the car and they get away. And that's when Nice pulls up to Murasaki. He's like, I told you, didn't I? It's too early to capture him. Like, I knew he had an accomplice. In his room, there were menthol cigarettes, but then there was also a bunch of mint candy left. Why would someone who smokes menthol cigarettes be opposed to mint candy? It tells me that there's two different people. One that likes mint, one that doesn't like mint. So I knew he had an accomplice. That's why I didn't want to capture him right now. I wanted to wait until his accomplice showed up, but you forced my hand. So again, Murasaki gets pissed off that Nice is showing him up, but Nice is in the right here. And he's like, all right, I know where they're going, but don't get in my way next time. And then it turns out that basically Nice, when he was pushing the kid out of the way, he put a tracking device on the car. And so they're able to use this to track down where Hibiki and his accomplice are going. And so they take a ride with Murasaki in Murasaki's car. Murasaki is basically explaining how the car is from the Facultas. Basically, Nice is able to get this information out of him by saying, like, this is a nice car. Would you let me drive it? And of course, Murasaki has to brag that this is a Facultas-owned car. Only Facultas members can drive it. And then he basically explains like all the cool gadgets that it has, like heat sensors, ejection seats, auto tracking mini missiles, a self-destruct device installed, like all these things that shouldn't be used for like an amateur can't understand. Basically, he's trying to call out Nice, but Nice is ignoring him. And yeah, they are able to track down Hibiki and his accomplice to this parking garage, where they know that they're being followed because they can see Murasaki following behind them. They're like, all right, we're going to lead them into a trap. So they go into a parking garage. And while there, Nice basically just one-shots Hibiki's accomplice. Like Hibiki's accomplice is like bragging about his abilities, and Nice just uses the cannonball and completely knocks the crap out of him. And that's when Hibiki's like, it doesn't matter if you beat my friends, like I brought you into a trap. I'm outside of your 5 meter range. Not only that, but we're in a parking garage, which means that when I scream, my voice is going to be amplified even more. So even if you're wearing earplugs like Murasaki is, they're not going to do anything. You're all dead. There's nothing you can do to stop me. And that's when Nice basically says, all right, then all that's left for you to do is yell. In fact, I'll even give you the signal. I'll give you the signal to yell and kill us. See right here, I'm going to snap my fingers. Once I snap my fingers, I want you to yell and kill us. And so, as he's about to snap his fingers, we see Hajime pulling out this like remote device. And just as he snaps his fingers, Hibiki yells, but at the same time, Hajime presses the button on the device, which blows up Murasaki's car. The device was the activation device for the self-destruct on the car. And the reason for that is the sound of the explosion drowns out Hibiki's voice. And so Nice is able to basically close the distance and knock out Hibiki. That's how he's able to use his brains to solve this case. And I love this. I love the fact that we have a character who's able to use his brains to solve things. Not only, like, I mean, he also uses physical abilities. He uses his cannonball abilities, but it's just nice to have, like, a character who claims to be a detective actually being a detective by deducting things just by looking at them. And we see this throughout this manga series. Like, for example, we have a scene later on where Nice is fighting two guys. Their name is Birthday and Ratio. Birthday has a electric shock minimum. He can basically use electric powers to electrocute people and stuff. Meanwhile, Ratio has an X-ray ability. He can like see people's like structure, like their body structures, and determine where their weak points are. He also has like these brass knuckles on his hands that can like ignite on fire. So Birthday basically has Nice's group in a checkmate. He's like, if you move, I'm gonna electrocute you, and I'll just kill you. So what Nice does is Nice is like, all right, well, I can't come after you, but I can come after Ratio. And so he's like, I'm gonna just charge right at you. So he rushes right at Ratio and throws a kick. And Ratio like knows that this is what Nice is gonna do. So Ratio just grabs Nice's foot, ignites it on fire, and then throws him away. And basically tells Nice, like, I knew you were gonna come at me, and now you're down one shoe. And Nice is basically like, well, you knew I was gonna come at you, but I also knew that you were gonna melt my shoe. And that's exactly what I wanted you to do. Nice then takes off his shoe, which is still on fire, and he throws it up in the air, where it goes near the fire sprinklers, and it triggers them. And so the entire place is doused in water. And now Nice is like, now Birthday's out of commission. If you use your electric abilities, you're going to shock not only us, but your teammate as well as yourself. So you can no longer use your electric abilities. So now it's us against Ratio. And I love seeing stuff like that. I love the fact that we have a character who uses his brains to win fights. Like, he not only uses his abilities, but he uses his brains. He's able to figure out things. Like, he's able to figure out where his opponents are going to be at just by looking at their apartment building, as we saw earlier. He's able to come up with plans. He has a plan for a plan. He has a backup for a backup. And I love the fact that he almost kind of has like this Columbo personality, in the sense that he kind of comes across as like this regular teenager. Like, we see him staring at women's boobs. We see him being fascinated with the swimsuit magazine. We see him staring at women's legs later on. Like, he seems to just be like this like aloof character who kind of portrays himself as dumber than he appears. But there's actually a hidden smart there. Like, he's actually really, really intelligent. He just doesn't really show it unless he absolutely has to. And yeah, as someone who's like a huge fan of Columbo, I absolutely love that. But it's just nice to have a character who actually uses their brains for a change, because that's just something that I don't really get to see a lot in manga and anime. Maybe it's because I read a lot of shonen. I read a lot of seinen too. I read basically everything. I read like every genre that comes across my feed pretty much. But a lot of it tends to be shonen just because that tends to be, I don't know, the majority of things that capture my interest. And a lot of shonen tends to follow the whole clumsy, naive, kind of slow-witted, dim main character. I don't know why shonens like to do that, but they do. And of course, there are exceptions, but just it's very rare to have a really intelligent main character. Usually, it'll be like the rival is the intelligent one. Of course, the villain will be intelligent or something. But to have the main character actually be the brains of the group is very rare, at least as far as the stuff I've come across. So to see a series where we have a character who actually uses his smarts, it's really nice. Pun not intended. So yeah, there you go. There's Hamatora. It's a really good series. I liked it. Artwork is really good. I'm gonna be showing you some of the interiors. Hopefully it won't get flagged, but artwork is good. The characters, especially nice, is really good. Hajime, like I love Hajime as well. Murasaki starts off kind of not the greatest. I find him really annoying, but he does. I don't want to say he completely wins me over, but he gets a lot better later on. But he starts off just really, really annoying. I will say that the biggest problem with this manga series is the fact that there are 20 chapters in total, but only 14 of them have been translated. Only 14 of them have been fan translated. And the last chapter was translated 5 years ago. So the chances of this series being completed is pretty much non-existent. However, you could read the first 13 chapters, stop, and you will kind of get an ending. It won't be like a huge closure ending, but it's an ending nonetheless. You can just stop at 13 and then jump right into the anime and just continue from there. Yeah, it's not that bad, I guess. So I would like if someone would just pick up the final 6 chapters and just that way we can have everything. But yeah, other than that, this is a pretty good series, and I would love to see more stuff like this. So hey, you guys got any recommendation? Especially if you got a recommendation for a character that actually, uses their brains to solve things, that would be really sweet. But just anything in general, it doesn't have to be an intelligent MC recommendation. It can just be any kind of series. Just something that you think I might be interested in checking out, let me know. Every time I get a recommendation, I always put it on my plan to read list. And whenever I get the chance, I get around to reading them. So, yeah, every recommendation you guys give me goes on the list. So, yeah, anyways, I'm just going to round one at this point. There you go. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. Take care. Later.